To just tell you that you're quite right, and I alluded to that fact a little bit earlier in my opening, that while it is a festive season for most, for some it can be quite a traumatic season. We do know that in the midst of the merriment and the jubilation, those who are the most vulnerable in our society, Valen, often bear the brunt of that increased alcohol consumption. They bear the brunt of those who are leaving on vacation as they are neglected, and also the criminal activity that increases this time of year also affects them. As you know, some of them get their pensions stolen, some of them are victims of housebreakings, etc. So how do we care for the most needy in our society, particularly the senior citizens and those who are elderly? I've got with me now the Minister in the Department of Social Development, Bathabile Dlamini, who's going to speak to us about government's interventions when it comes to this particular aspect. A very good morning to you, Ma. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning, Ayanda, and good morning to your viewers.
I almost forgot to say Merry Christmas. Thank you so much for waking up so early on Christmas Day.
Same to you, and Merry Christmas to the viewers, and more particularly the vulnerable people, older persons, people with disabilities, women and children.
Ma, you've been traveling throughout South Africa, just speaking to people about some of the issues that elderly people face in the country. What are some of the prevailing issues that surfaced?
All right, it seems that we've just lost some sound there. We're going to be crossing back to Ayanda as she has a very important discussion with the Minister of Social Development about this important time of the year. Of course, there is the opportunity for you to make a contribution to this very important home and what they do. The Ephraim Zulu Senior Citizens Centre, if you'd like to donate some money, you can do so by using the following banking details. We're just going to ask them if they can pull that full screen. The account number 505400873331, branch code 256005, and it's FNB, and the money will be donated and go to the very good work that the Ephraim Zulu Senior Citizens Centre is doing in Soweto. We'll also be keeping you up to date with these banking details a little bit later on. So we'll put it full screen a little bit later right here on the show. And of course, Ayanda will be focusing in and chatting to a couple of the gogos and the mkhulus that are cared for at this home. And you'll be able to see where your money will be going to. Let's go back to Ayanda. I think they've sorted out that technical little glitch. So let's cross back to them and see what they have for us. Ayanda?
Well, thank you so very much, Valen. The gremlins in the system there, but it's all systems go. In fact, we continued our discussion very briefly with Minister Bathabile Dlamini, highlighting some of the issues, saying that most of the time it's the granny's very own family members who are the ones who are perpetuating this cycle of abuse against the elderly, ogogo nomkhulu, in the home. We highlighted the fact, Mama, that some of their grants and their pension get stolen this time of year as well, that sometimes the frail are not properly looked after, that people don't wake up in the morning to give them their medication that's necessary, and they neglect them in various other ways as well. It is quite a problem, is it not?
Yes, they also don't feed them correctly, and one other thing is that they leave them on their own. Firstly, throughout the year, some of the family members go to work in the urban areas and leave older persons on their own, and then they experience rape, and others are killed, and others are said to be witches, because when you get older, you either have dementia, and so you wake up going to the loo, but end up walking in the streets. And when people want to know where you come from, you don't know. And then they call you a witch, instead of ensuring that they take you to a home around the area, or a priest, or a social worker, or a nurse, or a police station. And then so that your mind will come back, and you will remember where you stay, and you will be taken home. So we just want to say to our communities, older persons are not witches. There are diseases that affect them when they grow older, and they have to be protected.
And it's quite a shame, really, because in their twilight years, this is when they need to be looked after the most. I know President Jacob Zuma was addressing such issues, saying that, when you are an infant and when you're elderly, that's when you're most vulnerable in your life, and that's when you need the most care. He said those words a little bit earlier this week. Speak to us very briefly about government's intervention and some of the factors that you bring in to mitigate these adverse treatment of the elderly. Perhaps speak to us about legislation and some of the work that you do in terms of parcels, food parcels.
Okay, we have plus 3 million older persons that government support with grants. And then secondly, we have social relief of distress for those that are 59 years old or those that are under undue pressure. They get pensions, but because they face challenges, we give them a relief for 3 months. Or those that stay with children and are getting a CSG instead of a foster care grant, we also assist them with some relief. And when it's October month, we try and ensure that we present some of the older persons with blankets, vanity pack or dignity pack, and the centenarians. We have many centenarians in South Africa. We then present them with some goodies to say to them, thank you for looking after us as the nation. And then we have active aging programs. I know that some older persons do not want to be active, but you can even have a small garden where you're going to just talk to your few cabbages, your few flowers, and just take your mind out of a lot of things that you do, because older persons do a lot of work. And then others even look after our children. So it's important for us to look after them. So active aging is very important. And also we have golden games that start from the district level to a provincial level and then a national level. And then older persons came to us to say, golden games are not a competition. They are part of our entertainment. Because if you say it's competition, other older persons will not be able to attend the national games. There we work together with sport. You know, the Minister of Sport and sporting departments in provinces, they are very vibrant. So they also inject a vibrancy within older persons. We also have the Older Persons Act that has been costed, and now we are trying to ensure that we have some funding for implementing what is in the Older Persons Act. But also we have rights for older persons that have to be respected by communities, by family members, by everyone who works with older persons. And we also have a register of people that have been found abusing older persons. Why do we have that register? Because we have caregivers that work with older persons in for home community-based care, but also in our institutions. So those people must not work in those institutions. We do have institutions like the Ephraim Zulu. This is one of our best institutions. Here you find all racial groups. It is in Soweto, and the staff is very much committed, and I've taken around this place. Older persons are free to talk, and I spoke to a few of them, and one of them said, look, we want a bread I am hungry now. If you are in such an area, you know that older persons are not abused because they are open. They can say whatever they want to say at a given time. In some of the institutions, you talk to older persons, they look
and you
down.
find that they're
Yes.
scared, they're being
Yes.
intimidated or threatened. I'm going to
Absolutely.
speak to you about something that you mentioned, that some of them will say to you, no, we want bread, we're hungry now. I can see some parcels here behind me consisting of much more than just bread, and the minister will be giving those out in just a moment. Do stay with us. It's time for a quick link to the headlines. We'll be back with more in just a minute.